this was one of our older buildings, this wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's like, oh, we've had this building for 20 years. But now it's like you walk in, and the minute you walk in, you see this. So it's just all one big package wrapped up in a nice bow. LEED is just like, it's a glass plaque that there's many areas. There's areas from like the waste that's produced, to the efficiency of the energy, to the design, to there's a bunch of key points that you have to hit. Materials, there's transportation, there's access to transportation, there's water usage. So all the things that are going to have to go into a building, and you get points like added to your score for every one of those you hit. So for instance, the energy efficient bathrooms, well, there's a specific amount of points. You knock all those out, you get all the points for that area. The process is you have to remediate the site to make sure there's nothing there in the site that's going to be toxic or hazardous to the neighborhood, or it's like poltergeist. You're not going to want to build on top of an Indian burial ground. Who knows? So you just got to remediate all that stuff and kind of figure out what's under there, so that way when you go to build, you don't run into all these problems. The building automation system that our engineers have is tied into it, so they can do set points where these lights may not turn on until 5 o'clock. So that way they're not burning all day. Probably during the winter months, that set point might be changed till 3. So that's another way to be more efficient in managing our utilities. Is more buildings, the more square footage we tie into that. It's easier for our engineers to do that and be more efficient, especially with HVAC. Like there's an on class inside of schedule for a couple hours in this one building. They'll kill the air conditioning in that building, so it's not just running constantly. They've been doing that a lot lately with startups and stops in the winter, so the heat it's not on all night. They'll turn it on a couple hours before occupants get there and kind of ramp it down later in the afternoon. I mean, this is probably light years ahead of some other film, and then too, like for us to really compete against other schools that have film, SAI's film and probably Loyola and Northwestern probably have film programs. They don't have, like, you can physically. It's like a soundstage, so it's pretty cool for that. Bring the HVAC down a level, so it's actually cooling the people as opposed to cooling the space, which then is going to reduce the amount of HVAC we have to use, because everyone's not complaining they're too hot, because by the time the air gets here, it's not as cold, or it's cooling the heating of the lights or lamps. So that was. It's the idea of, like, you're going to have all this radiant sun coming down, and if the building's blacktop, it's going to just suck up and absorb that heat, which then makes the whole building hotter, and you're going to have to cool it. These kind of absorb some of that sunlight, and that's another reason why there's kind of white reflected panels as well, so that it reflects the light instead of absorbing it. Kind of like you wear a black shirt in the summer and you're like hotter than wearing light colors, or you put your hand on a blacktop and it's like burning your hand. Why is that possible? Because it absorbs the heat. So that's one of the reasons to have that on this building, and especially these are the sound stages, so they're the ones that will be getting hotter. So having that up there is going to reduce some of that as well. You guys can see it right behind you. Above here is another green roof, and on top of this whole structure is a green roof. So I'm just going to say 20,000 square feet of our building services are covered by green roofs. These are sedum plugs. They're like a smaller plant that doesn't have the root system isn't as intense, so it can grow. If you look, like it's kind of weird. Every plant in here is a sedum plant, but they all kind of look different. Even though they all kind of look the same right now. That's another reason why they're on roofs, because they don't need a lot of care and maintenance. But so what happened was Papermaker's Garden came about. Book and Paper Center wanted to, as I mentioned, kind of do something on the green roof to what the idea here is, it's growing medium that they end up harvesting and turning back into paper fibers to make paper with. Making sure that we do those things as like standard operating procedure. So it's like not just sucking in absorbing all the heat energy. So it's not like we would be able to get credit for that, because we're it's one piece of that big puzzle. But we're looking at those things on all our projects, so it doesn't necessarily meet this thing. We don't get this really cool piece of glass, but who needs a piece of glass?